What's up, guys? How you doing? I'm Johnny Boots, Jonathan Troyes, and I just want to talk to you about people out there wanting to join the military and what it entails, basically, and all the paperwork involved. It'll be about 10 minutes, I believe. I'm going to try, chop it down to 7. We'll see from there. But, joining the military, it's a big, big decision. And if you are like 18, 17 years old, they'll usually come up to you in the mall and try to grab you. It happened to me from the Marines, and I never wanted to be a Marine. My father was a Marine, and he's a nutcase. And the Navy, we own the Marines basically. We transport them. They live with us, and they can get a little rowdy sometimes, and make it look bad for everybody else in the service. Depending on how much college credits you have, you'll be able to go in as an E3. That's what I went in as an E3, and you'll be able to get a little bit more money than somebody going in as an E1. An E1 is basically just a private, and doesn't really get much pay. It's like basically like the same pay as working at McDonald's. E3 gets paid, like overtime working at McDonald's. So when I was in the military, everybody would always ask me for money. Oh, you're E3. We want your money. This uniform is where you keep your Liberty Pass. You see these guys, this is a Cracker Jack uniform. You keep your Liberty Pass right here with your debit card. You get Navy Federal. All military gets Navy Federal. And that's it. And if you want your military ID. So when you go into town, you can do anything you want. You're in town. But usually when you're in town, you don't really wear the uniform. You wear civvies, what we call them, civilian attire, which is like a t-shirt and jeans, depending on where you're stationed. I was stationed in Pensacola, Florida. So back then it was like it was hot. It was always hot. So I was always wearing, only had like one pair of jeans. So, because it would very seldom get cold. And which is cool about being in the military is you get a lot of stuff for free. Like people will like pick you up because the cab picks you up on base, and they say, "Oh, you're in the military." Boom, and we always offer to pay. We said, no, like, how much is it? Like, $15, just to take us to the beach. We'll pay. It's not a big deal because, we're all making money, but you don't get paid every week. You get paid every 2 weeks. I have money in the bank. I was able to like go to strip club because a lot of people in uniform they tend to go to strip clubs. I didn't want to go because I had a girlfriend at the time, but I was always dragged to the strip club. And the strippers would always be very welcome and come up to me and want to get my phone number and marry you, because once you get involved with a stripper, they want that benefits. They know that you have a lot of money coming in, or they think you do, and you have a lot of things that could help their lives because they're low lives. But you don't want to do that. What you want to do is marry somebody within the service. I know it may sound a little stupid, but a lot of people do this nowadays. You see baseball players, professional wrestlers, and basketball players. They all marry within their realm. And I saw this when I was in too. You get involved with somebody who's in the service and the same rank as you, and you could start a relationship with them. It's not fraternizing, basically, really, because if they're E5 and you're E3, then that's fraternizing. But you could get involved with somebody who's also E3. But it's rare too because there's a lot of lesbians in the Navy. A lot of lesbians, more lesbians than there are gays, regular gay boys. I only met about 2 or 3 gay boys, maybe 2, if that, in the Navy when I was in back in 2012, 2013. So I only met 1 or 2, but mostly they were all lesbians. I don't know why it was that, but there were a lot of lesbians, a lot of carpet munchers, in the United States Navy, and they get caught. Back then, it was a problem because they were getting caught in the bathtub and doing, playful rubber ducky things, and that was about all. I mean, I never got caught in the bathroom. I only got caught in the bathroom, taking a dump. When during inspection time, you'd wear a uniform like this, and you have to clean the little apartment that they give you. It's like a 2-man, 3-man room, and basically ranging from we're all enlistments, E1, E3, and then there's the bathroom. You could walk straight through to the next room. So there were 3 black guys. I don't know why it was like that, but they put all the blacks together in the Navy. There were 3 black guys in the other room next to us, and over here we were mixed. We had 2 white guys, me and another guy. Actually, in the beginning of that season, it was a white guy, it was a Mexican guy, and a black guy. So it was really mixed. And then the black guy moved. I guess he wanted to be with his friends, so he moved. And then they brought in a white guy that was just got out of BUD/S. Let's talk about BUD/S. If you want to be a Navy SEAL, is a very excruciating training. And this kid, he was coming out, and he had a mustache like this. And you could also, the only facial hair that you could have in the Navy is a mustache, and it has to be really nice and trimmed like the way it is now. Haircut has to be nice and basically short. And he hurt his knee. And a lot of people, before I went into Navy, they wanted me to try out for not BUD/S, but like special forces, basically be a Navy diver and make like $70,000. Back then, the salary starting was 70. And I was like, I don't want to jump out of a fucking helicopter, 98 feet in the air and land in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. I don't want to do that shit. He said, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? I said, I want to be a cook. I want to be a chef. I want to be a CS. And because I like to cook steak. I like to, have a couple of drinks every now and then, plain. And they said, don't worry, we'll get you that job. And then when the contract came and they said, okay, sign this here. They said, it says Airman Apprentice. What is this? This is a job just for you. So, I wanted to be a chef, and everybody was telling me for 6 months I'm supposed to be a chef. We will get you that job. We will strike for that job for you in 6 months. 3 to 6 months, you'll be able to strike, it's called, for that job. I said, do I still get a bonus? Because I didn't really give a shit, I wanted to get out of the house. I wanted a career. Sail the 7 seas in the Navy. All around in the Navy. All the propaganda I saw, I saw growing up and everything like that, watching all the movies, Officer and a Gentleman, all that type of stuff. So I said, where's my bonus? Because, I've come from Brooklyn, and the guy was like, where are you from? Because I wanted to make sure I got a little bonus before I went in, even though I didn't get the job I wanted. It was because something did go wrong, which it did. I had some cushion to fall back on. I had, a couple $1,000s to fall back on, which I made sure of that. It was a huge contract. It's like literally this size. It's like 646 pages. Here's your bonus, $3,200. I said, thank you very much. I signed it online. There's a few things that happen. Your life changes completely immediately. They says, okay, now you're in. Ring that bell. There's a big bell, like a Liberty bell, and you start ringing it. Bing, 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 and it's loud, and you just feel different. You feel very different. And then the next step, they bring you into a red, flush, carpeted room. It's just like a presidential room, very, very beautiful and clean, and temperature-wise, it's like heaven. And there's men, women in there, and there's an energy in there that's off the charts. It's just off the charts, and it feels like sort of like a church almost, but different. Like special people have been in that room, and it's red, nice and comfortable, red flush, and we're all standing at attention, in civilian clothes before we get sworn in, and in comes a naval officer, and he says, everybody standing next to you is in the Air Force. That guy's in the Marines. That guy's in the Army. That guy's in the Coast Guard. You're in the Navy. Raise your right hand, and you take the oath. I will support and defend the United States of America and the Constitution of the Declaration, and so on. And then he says, everybody's in. Shake the man's hand next to you, or the woman aside from you too. So you shake everybody's hand. You shake everybody's hand. It's sort of like church. And then that's when the hell starts. That's when the hell starts. They put you in Staten Island. You saw some of my videos before, and basically I tried to get laid. I tried to get laid before I went in, because I could be killed within a year. Who knows? Like, they says, oh, don't worry, they're pulling all the Navy guys out of Afghanistan and Iraq, so don't worry. Because when I joined back in 2012, leading into 13, it was in April 2000, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about the guy sitting next to me. He was from down south. You meet a lot of people from down south in the military. You say, will you die for your country? I don't say. I said, okay. I said, yes, I guess I would. You or me and everybody else around here, we could get killed. And he says, I like you. My name's Davis. And you just don't want to run into this guy in the bathroom. I ended up being in the same unit as I was, Division 222, and he was okay. He wasn't that bad. He was from North Carolina. I was from Brooklyn, and funny enough, that there was a girl who was singing cadence, because when you sing in the military, when you march and stuff like that, it's called cadence. So they were called. She was from the Bronx, but they always would call her Brooklyn. Brooklyn, raise the flag higher. And she was this little squirrel looking girl, Puerto Rican girl from the Bronx. They used to call me Johnny Cage for some odd reason. I don't know why. They used to call me Johnny Cage. Everybody gets a nickname. And if I was trying to fuck up the unit. I don't know why. Not all the time, but I wasn't the worst one. There was a Chinese kid always falling asleep, and he was the worst. And there was another kid that was he was homeless, and we had a problem with him too. And when the lights go out in boot camp, that's when you know who your friends really are, and we start talking. Everybody starts talking. Everybody's gone. We could relax and just talk. He says, where are you from? Where are you from? What's your background? And then this guy, he was like, yeah, I'm homeless. And we were like, wow, really? And then, he says, because we didn't want a lot of shitbirds fucking up our unit, because we had a good unit and we wanted to win the Division Cup, it's called, and which we did. We wanted to win the Division Cup because our RDCs, they were perceived to be very, very prestigious. Like they were from submarine duty, and one of them looked like a shaved dolphin. I deal with the bullshit. There's a lot of bullshit. And do I recommend a young man or a young woman going into the military to this day? I would say no. For this branch, for United States Navy, because it's not like what you think. Like, you're not going to see the world. You're not going to see the world. You're just going to be in a couple, American states that you could do this on your own when you have a regular job. And you're going to be depressed. You're going to be very depressed in the military because it's like a prison. It's like being in prison. It's everything's confined, and you can't just like go out anytime you want. It's not like New York City. You can just go out at 2 o'clock in the morning and do whatever you want to do, and come back and stuff like that. No, it's not like that. Like, you have to go through checkpoints and stuff like that, and there's you have to be back at a certain time when you're on base, and people get into trouble and stuff like that and whatnot, and it's just a lot of headaches. It's a lot of headaches for not too much money. You're just a number, or you're just a job. You're just a job. Because I was an airman apprentice, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be that. And everybody who's in the Navy basically never gets the job that they want, because they screw you. They screw you, and that's it. And only if a last resort, like let's say if you're not a citizen, or if you need citizenship, or you dire need a job, like I don't know, maybe if you want to do it, because but I mean it'll teach you certain discipline things, like I'm able to wake up on time, I fold my clothes, right? Like, it's, I don't know. I mean, you can learn that shit on your own too, but I don't know. Like, it does help you in teamwork. Like if a room, God forbid, fills up with water, you'll be able to not panic and work together, or get out of that situation. Or if a room is on fire, because when you're in the Navy, you're a trained fireman as well. You'll be able to not panic and go through the emotions and save yourself, and that'll help you. And I guess but people will be looking at you. Oh, this guy was in the Navy. This guy, he's supposed to help us. If you want that, or this guy was in the military, this guy is crazy, stuff like that. You're gonna have both worlds. You're gonna have both worlds of that when you're in and when you get out too. So there's a lot of alcohol involved. Like, they drink like fish. They drink a lot, and I wasn't into that. I wasn't really into that. I was into just having dinner. Going out, going to the movies, going to Taco Bell and just chilling. I'm a chill cat, and I didn't want to bother nobody, and I didn't want to get bothered. But Marines were always doing stuff and stuff like that, and we would get punished for it too, because I don't know, like we're supposed to take care, babysit the Marines, which is another reason why you shouldn't join the Navy. Like, maybe join the Army. Like, if you're thinking about going into service, or even the Air Force, it's easier, like physically. Is the Navy and the Chair Force or Air Force. It's more book smarts, so you have to be able to be good on the grades. The Navy and in the Air Force. I like the uniform of the Coast Guard, but like I think it's more local. Like, you don't go to Florida, I don't think, in the Coast Guard. Like, I think you'll just go to Pennsylvania. So I could be wrong, but it's I think it's a little bit less pay, and the most pays are in the Navy and in the Air Force. So it's all up to you guys and girls if you want to think about going in, and but there are like regular jobs that you still have a lot more fun. Like, I really didn't have fun in the Navy. I'm thinking back, and it was like it was not really fun. It was not fun. I mean, there were a couple times where I went to the beach that were fun, but that was only like a couple days out of like almost a year that I was there, and that's why I got out, and that was it. Like, but that's it. Like, that's up to you guys. I mean, it'll sort of keep you in shape, halfway healthy. It's not perfectly healthy because there are like two options that you choose from. They give you a little box of cereal for a speedy breakfast, an apple and a yogurt, and or you get a regular breakfast, which is like, it's not that great. The lunch was always good. The lunch was always good. If you had to go back to work or do something during that day, you got there was always hamburgers available and hot dogs. It's not like out here where you could get like a salad. They did have a salad bar. They did have a salad bar actually, and you could get as much as you want. But you want to try and keep in shape because you have pertaining to your age and your height and your your age and your height and your rank. Like, you have to maintain a certain type of weight. Look huge. They look fucking huge. They look like wheelbarrows. So I don't know what's going on in the military, but the stuff that I've been seeing online is just like they look like wheelbarrows. They don't look healthy. All the enlistment mints are down because there's people don't want to join because there's like wars going on. There's wars going on, and people don't want to get hurt. People just want to have a living, raise a family, and have a couple kids. Further on down the road, if you get promoted, people don't want to go to war. Like I signed because I really needed a job, and it was nice. That was fun. It was nice to always have money in my pocket. I always had money in my pocket, and everybody always knew it. I don't know how they knew it, but they were always asking me for money, and I always said no. I'll buy you one beer. That's it. Get the fuck away from me, because you're always going to have these little idiots coming towards you, and there's a lot of underage drinking involved. If they're only like 17, 18, 19, 20, and they're joining the service, because they're all druggies, getting, their parents kicked them out of the house, all that bullshit. I ain't got time for that. So you do what you want to do, and that's about it. Peace.